Go ahead. No presentation. This is a daily digital newspaper, local one. Okay, let's start. Well, doesn't work. So perhaps you do remember Donald Trump, when in February 2017, he used Sweden as an example of failed integration. The riots he talked about happened in Rinkeby, a district on the outskirts of Stockholm. That's where we have our office. It's a so-called socially vulnerable area with high unemployment and low incomes. To Järva, to which Rinkeby belongs, journalists seldom come. When Järva is mentioned in media, it's often in connection with shootings, riots, or fires. Even then, reporters are not usually present. They rely on police reports only. Roughly 70,000 people live there, and the vast majority, 90%, have immigrant background. I have worked as a journalist my whole life, with television, radio, daily press, and magazines, mostly covering society and politics. My experiences as a local reporter were limited. But for almost 2 years, I worked at a local newspaper in Järva. I quickly realized that it's not possible just to sit in the office and rewrite press releases and mailings from the authorities. I was there, and my texts were read and discussed. I felt like I made a difference, at least sometimes, and not everyone is blessed with that. But the newspaper had bad finances, as newspapers usually have these days. And we were told that half of the staff had to go. I was 59 years old that time and considered my chances of getting a new job non-existent. The labor market for journalists is shrinking, and my almost 40 years of experience as a journalist would almost be seen as a burden. I took a part-time job as an informant at a school in Järva. And at the same time, I began planning to start my own digital newspaper. Together with Jasmin Östenar, a young journalist and graphic designer, I started Nyhetsbyrån Järva on June 6, 2018. Since then, we have published roughly 3,500 articles, between 2 and 5 articles every day, 365 days a year. Already in the fall of 2018, articles and text began to be sent to us. More and more people contacted us, and our readership grew dramatically. At the turn of the year 2018 and 2019, I quit as an informant. I felt that I had to commit completely to give the newspaper a chance. My co-founder moved abroad, but I had made contact with 2 other young women in Järva who also believed in a local newspaper. Much is written and spoken about the importance of a free and independent press as one of the cornerstones of democracy, especially if it concerns the situation in other countries. In Sweden, there is no discussion about who owns the newspapers or about the fact that there are many small cities without any local media at all. Of Sweden's 290 municipalities, 62 have no editorial coverage at all. Instead, the municipalities invest enormous sums in marketing. They publish their own newspapers, pure advertising disguised as journalism. And the same situation prevails in the suburbs of the big cities. As many people live in Järva as in a medium-sized Swedish city, but the journalistic coverage is lousy. Many residents of Järva do not recognize themselves in the surveillance of their neighborhood. They are pissed off at the media, quite simply. The media coverage consists mostly of what we call blue light journalism, meaning crimes and accident. And Järva is portrayed as a no-go zone, a ghetto, a dangerous place. The image of the place is stigmatizing and diminishing. But a scientific survey conducted locally in Järva in the summer of 2020 shows that 85% enjoy living there. It's a sensational figure that no national media drew attention to. At the same time, The survey showed that 75% lack or have low trust in authorities and police. But the trust in journalists is at a record low. 82% are critical of media's reporting on their residential area. We wanted to change that. When people ask, I usually say that Nyhetsbyrån Järva is a politically independent, but in every way political newspaper. Because how can it be anything other than political? In Järva, unemployment is higher than elsewhere, incomes are lower, and shootings are more common. Health is worse, and school results as well. That difference between those who have and those who don't becomes very clear when you work in Järva. Our country, which once was a role model when it came to economic and social equality, is now the country where income differences are increasing the most among the world's OECD countries. Growing divides, political instability, and increased crime. Sweden is a textbook example of what happens when a society falls apart economically. And Järva belongs to the areas that are the hardest hit. What makes our works interesting is that people in Järva don't keep quiet. They protest and organize themselves for their right. They are concerned. Excuse me. Oh, min galning. Oh, let's go on. They are concerned about layoffs and cutbacks. They fight for youth centers to be open, for the laundry to work, and for the children to get a good education. Järva is so much more than the black headlines of the newspapers. There's a story of community and struggle that is worth telling, and that's exactly what we are trying to do. We interview politicians and civil servants, artists and bus drivers, housewives and students, everyone. And during the pandemic, we informed people in Järva about COVID in Somali and Arabic long before the authorities. We participate in meetings and festivals, sport events, and big football tournaments. The idea when we started Nyhetsbyrån Järva was also to train local reporters, a network of local writers, and therefore I started a basic course in journalism in autumn 2018. The first year we had 15 participants. Of the 15, all except one were from Järva or worked in Järva. 12 out of 15 were women. The youngest participant was 14 and the oldest 84. Only 2 of them had Swedish as a mother tongue. Now, for the 5th year in a row, I hold an evening course in the craft of journalism. Many established and well-known journalists come and lecture on the course. And when I give my courses, I'm usually quick to point out that small language errors are no obstacle of writing. The majority of our participants have different ethnic origin, and many of them a different mother tongue. I don't consider that a problem at all. The most important thing a journalist must learn is to choose what is important. Correcting a typo or a linguistic mistake is not a problem at all. In 2021, we published 1,082 articles written by 221 persons, writers. 187 of them live or work in Järva. And last year, we had more than 280,000 unique readers, according to Google Analytics. Our readers are young. More than 75% are in the age between 18 and 45. 54% of the readers are men, but the majority of the writers are women. And the majority of the writers are not ethnic Swedes. They have roots from all over the world. The first 2 years, we worked with the paper completely without pay. I worked part-time, as I told you, as an informant, and my 2 colleagues had other jobs on the side. But in Sweden, there is a government authority that is supposed to guarantee diversity in the media, the Swedish Press and Broadcasting Authority. So in last year, over 1 billion Swedish crowns was distributed in media support. but the large corporation received most of the money. We applied for media support in 2019, but received none. But the year after, one picture is wrong. Yes, sorry. It doesn't matter. But in 2020, we received the prestigious prize from the city of Stockholm, the Katarina Taikon Prize. This prize is every year awarded to people or organizations that the city believes are making great efforts to strengthen human rights. It was an official recognition that was significant for us. Other media also started to take an interest in us, both in our course and our newspaper. And at the same year, we received media support for the first time. Not much, enough to pay one editor at a very moderate salary. We divided that salary by 3. And since then, ad revenue is growing. And this year we received money equivalent to 2 full-time jobs, which we divided by 3. And we also have possibility, we have editors who help us to cover the weekends. We are extremely democratic when it comes to salary setting. All editors have the same salary, regardless of previous experience. What little we have, we share equally. But everyone who writes for the newspaper, those 221 persons, does so without compensation. You write to us because you have something important to tell, not to make money. Since 2019, we have regularly received interns from the journalist line at Södertörn University in Stockholm. There are students who work as reporters for 2 weeks. And this year, Stockholm University contacted us for collaboration. The teacher in the journalism program were concerned as they felt that their students had very limited experience of society. Most had never even visited suburbs like Järva. So for 2 months, a total of 40 students divided into 4 groups worked with us. We also have collaboration with 2 local podcasts, Galdemar Talk and a pod about football. Football is big and important sport in our area. And we also collaborate with 2 primary schools in the area, where we teach the oldest pupils about the importance of media, and then they write submissions or columns in our paper. Sometimes the way we work is called engagement journalism, but it's really nothing new. Our work is similar to how it was when the great popular movements emerged in our country at the beginning of the last century. Newspapers were started within the labor movement, the revival movement, and the temperance movement. The newspapers were built up by volunteer power. They had people who reported from their neighborhood or workplace. We do the same. We have reached one of our goals. Nyhetsbyrån Järva is today an established newspaper. Many people read us. The authorities start advertising in our paper. Civil servants and politicians sometimes like and sometimes fear us. But considering how many readers we have, we should have more ads. What has been important to us is that we are present, and we let the residents of Järva set the agenda, and exclusively those who live or work in Järva. It's also important that we organize our own courses in the craft of journalism, and we are very good at text editing, taking care of other people's texts carefully and with feedback. And finally, I think it's important that the newspaper is locally owned. If I can dream big, I want to build an entire media house. We already collaborate, as I told you, with local podcasts. But we could broadcast local TV, maybe local radio, and maybe even TV. I would like young people not to be ashamed that they grew up in Järva, but on the contrary, to be proud of it. That was all.
I hope you can hear the applause, Kerstin.
No, I don't hear it.
There are applause here in the room, so that's good. Okay, so if we stop sharing the screen like this. Good. So we open questions to from Zoom or from the audience. We have one question here from Audit. Maybe you could say that you wrote that. We can say it and I can repeat maybe.
Okay, do you hear me?
Maybe I can repeat. I can read it there. So the question on the chat was, have you applied or received financial support from other Swedish authorities than MPRT? Jag antar att det är presstöd, such as MFD or MUCF?
No. Short answer, no. MFD, what's that?
MFD, what's that?
Det är Myndigheten för delaktighet.
Myndigheten för delaktighet.
And the other one is Myndigheten för
I know that one. No, we haven't got any other money from elsewhere. But now we are a little bit better to sell adverts. But no, we do struggle with money, of course. We don't have time to fill in all those forms to get money. You know, that's some sort of, you need to be a specialist of that. That's takes a lot of time and it's difficult. We have a hell with this application we do every year to the authorities for press, radio, TV, and broadcasting. But we do that well now. We know how to do it.
Very good. My experience that if you get too stuck in project financing, that's going to end up, you know, you will not be able to do your work that you want to do. So it will more like engaging in different projects rather than doing your work. So I really appreciate that situation.
Now they will change the media support as well in 2024. I wish that it will be as usual this year, next year. We apply in spring and we hopefully get the support in summer. But so I feel that we have perhaps hopefully a year and a half, but then everything will change and then we don't know what it will look like.
Very good. Any more questions from the room? We have a question.
Can you repeat it then?
I can repeat it if Kerstin doesn't hear the question. I can repeat it.
Thank you for a very interesting and important talk. I was wondering what kind of attention you receive from national media. Do they pick up on topics? Do they show an interest on what you bring?
Did you hear that?
Yes, I heard. Yes, I think that's why I call the paper news agency, if you translate it to English, because we don't sell news, but we transmit news. They can use our topics and our articles to do something, and it happens. But and we get more and more. You know, my trade union paper has written about us. Dagens Nyheter has made big report from our course. They do see us, so to say. They don't understand how we can exist, I suppose.
Yes. Any other question? Otherwise, we thank you very much, Kerstin. It's a very interesting topic about representation, but it's also part of also the producers that we heard from another speaker before earlier today, that the audience engage as producers, as writers, and also consume the same. So I think it tied it up very nicely from a real practitioner in the field, a journalist. Super good. Thank you very much, Kerstin, and please stay on with the discussion.